Okay, so on this episode of my thoughts on Mobile Suit Gundam Gquuuuuux, we're up to episode 8. So we start off with Mechu in the Gundam, and she's heading towards essentially the meeting point of the next clan bat. And then for some reason it's in the middle of a colony, which is odd, and a bunch of weird stuff happening. Everything seems off. Yeah, so she eventually stops in the sort of like on the way, and everyone at the Pomeranian's a bit confused. Then we have a bit of a flashback between essentially the meeting Mechu and Nyan had by the shrine. Basically, they go over a bit more details, and later on in the episode, they continue a flashback where Nyan's like, "Oh, do you like Shuji?" And Mechu's like, "Oh, gee, what are your thoughts on him?" Just standard cucking stuff, as you know. Infidelity, a mark in this world. That's fine. So back and forth. Then they basically, yeah, so what's happening is they are swapping. So Neon's going to be piloting the Gquuuuuux during the clan battle, and Mechu's going to be doing something else towards helping the plan to save, essentially, buy the space glider and escaping with Shuji. So essentially that's what I think is happening, is she's gone by this meeting up at a rendezvous point is the plan, and they'll have enough money and they'll be able to buy the glider and escape. And then we move over to the meeting between the president of Side 6 and Chrysilla, as well as the guy to the left is the guy who was betrothed to Mirai in the original series. So I don't think I've mentioned that yet, but he showed up in a previous episode as well. That's the same guy. And I have a funny thing, the president might have been the guy who owned the space dock that was in just outside Side 6 territory and was actually like repairing both sides of the war. I think that's him as well. I'd have to double check. Yep, and then we're back to, here is Shuji and Yan. And Shuji's like, "Oh, it's Nyan this time." And he's like, "I don't mind, it's fun either way." So actually what starts off here is the sort of second in charge guy of Pomeranians tells the other two to leave, the two other guys to leave, as he knows something's about to happen. And they turn back and the boss lady's not in her seat. Then it goes over to Mechu basically opening her safe and robbing it. And then basically she gets, Anik basically comes in, confronts her, and then she looks in the safe and there's a gun there. And it cuts to the next page, where essentially Suji and Yan essentially scouting out for competition, and they get spotted, which sort of causes the air conditioning unit to start transforming into a Gundam. And also in this episode, Nyan is like pure sex, and then it has a head as well. I think there's a comment who's like, "Oh god, why is the air conditioning unit floating?" by one of the people. And then we're back to the Pomeranian base, where Enix's like, you're not gonna shoot me. She also basically mentioned that if all she was doing was basically just piloting Gundam, she'd be fine, as basically after this she can just go back to normal life with no issues. But because she's sort of crossing the line, it's gonna be more difficult for her. And yeah, and she thinks she can't shoot, but then something she actually told her in the sunbathing episode is basically she does end up shooting. It doesn't hit her, but it's enough to shock her, and she can run away with the money. It's something Anik told her about not being held back by something along those lines that actually made her just pull the trigger. And then basically, so there's a confrontation between Gquuuuuux and Red Gundam and the military police. And sort of they managed to essentially hide underneath an overbridge. And then also Nyan basically gets knocked out of the Gquuuuuux, and Shuji catches her like miraculously. It's like, actually, I don't know where he came from, but it happened. And then she's like, just us, we should just leave and escape, leave Metru and Gundam behind us because she wants him the most. And then he Zeknovas. He's basically drawn back into the suit. And then at Zeknovas, it's not as big as the one that happened in like episode 3, but it does some damage. And yeah, so he's gone now. He might show up later, we'll find out. Or he'll be in the Gundam as well. Then the Psycho Gundam gets naked. And then it's also revealed that this is just Evangelion, I think, at this point. Actually, one thing I forgot to mention is before Neon basically ends up being underneath the overpass, she's basically, I don't think we're going to be able to make it to the rendezvous point. So she was initially actually trying to sort of go with Metru's plan before she decided to, I'll just take security for myself. And so Neon, like, she's walking along and she sees the Gquuuuuux, like, where is everyone? Gets spotted by the military police. And basically escapes into the Gquuuuuux after her, like, I think one of the bullets basically breaks the bag open, so all the money goes scattering everywhere, so no one has the money. Next up, Chrysilla is trying to escape. Oh yeah, so it turns out the assassination attempt wasn't a Zeon assassination attempt, it was from a Titan, so the whole point of the Psycho Gundam being there is to kill Chrysilla. But yeah, so she's trying to escape. Psycho Gundam's hand comes up and Xavier comes and basically stops it from happening. And then before it shoots again, Charlie comes along and the Bro, which has been renamed because it's kind of like how the Gquuuuuux is a different suit. What's happened here is this has been given a different name. It was in a different suit. Even though it's literally just the same. It's literally just a Bro. I don't think it's a new version of it. I think it's just the same thing. It just happened to be given a new name because of how things developed. Which I think is stupid. Then he next minute makes short work of both the Psycho Gundam and the other guy who was with the Psycho Gundam. Like, way too easy. I generally don't think it should have been that easy. One thing I did forget to mention earlier, I think just comparatively to my prediction from last week, I think the whole thing is very anticlimactic. Because you'd think the Psycho Gundam didn't do shit this episode. No one died. The closest thing to someone dying was Shooty disappearing in the Zeknova Nova, and it doesn't mean he's dead, he might just appear later on in the series. So my expectation was someone would die. And no one died. So I am mildly disappointed by that, because like, it sort of pushes it for, like, a bit towards that it's not really Gundam spectrum. And then next minute, Matthew's mom says that her daughter's a terrorist. And the police are looking through the Pomeranian base. And then basically I think Matthew escapes from the police sort of, and Charlie saves her. And then Xavier finds Neon and essentially recruits her to Zeon, which she is here. And basically what's happened is Xavier is wondering why he's now with Chrysilla and not still on the Sodom. And Chrysilla is like, she doesn't think Charlie is actually a threat to her, so there's no point him being there. So they're just going to be there. And then next it goes to a meeting with Charlie where he's like, if one of either Chrysilla or Gurren die, if you're basically a civil war as the other side that supported them, the one who died basically would go to war with them. So the only way to deal with it is to kill them both at the same time. So he is technically still a threat to Chrysilla. And then it sort of goes off into Matthews in a prison cell in the Sodom. So where that, I think that leads us currently, I think we are going to get an actual conflict of some sorts. And then there's going to be effectively, or 3 sides technically. The third one, so would just be Gurren's side of the Force, who may not actually see much to do with. There's Chrysilla, who has Xavier and Neon, So they'll probably get like a motorcycle from Neon. And the main reason Xavier took it was he still thinks she's the actual pilot. He doesn't actually think that she's a pilot based on what happened in that previous episode. Yeah, then we've got Charlie's side, which is basically like essentially doing what Char wants to do, and he'll have Match on his side. So we'll see how it goes and who dies. It'll be interesting. Will Shuji come back? Who knows? And then the preview for next episode. So one thing what happened with episode 3, they cut out a bunch of this stuff. And everyone's like, why did they cut it out? Turns out episode 8 is the rest of the sort of prologues thing. So we're going to see the rest of that in episode 8. So I probably won't do a video on that one, purely because, again, I covered that in my very first video sort of in the series. But it will be interesting to see what happens next. So as I said, you're going to have 4 episodes to sort of tie things up. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. But yeah, thank you for coming, everyone, and I will see you all probably in a couple of weeks' time for the next episode. And yeah, make sure you just give us a like and give us a subscribe if you enjoyed the content. And I'll see you all next time.